Atlantic City, a name that once sparkled like a crown jewel on the Jersey Shore. It was a destination that promised fun, relaxation, and memories. With its charming boardwalk, grand hotels, lively beaches, and nightclubs, it was the darling of America's vacation scene. But all that glitters isn't gold forever. Not sure that's how they say it, but the point is that, over time, this vibrant city fell from grace, leaving behind a shadow of its former self. However, before you write off Atlantic City as just another forgotten place, it's only fair we take a journey back to its glory days, a time when this town was thriving, holding its head high as the jewel of the Mid-Atlantic. Atlantic City was born in the mid-19th century, envisioned as an affordable escape for Philadelphians craving a break from the hustle of urban life. Back then, America was falling in love with the idea of vacations, and Atlantic City promised a breath of fresh air. Literally. With its location on the South Jersey Shore, it was the perfect spot for families to relax by the beach without venturing too far from home. By the 1870s, railroads made it even easier to reach the seaside paradise. Over 500,000 visitors a year were hopping on trains to enjoy the coastal breeze and luxurious beachfront hotels. The construction of the famous boardwalk around this time was a stroke of genius. Originally built to keep sand out of hotel lobbies, it quickly became the heartbeat of the city. Atlantic City was the Vegas of its time. This was where saltwater taffy was invented, the chewy candy that tourists still buy today, even though it tastes like regret and wax. My opinion though. What's more, Atlantic City was also the birthplace of Monopoly's property names. If you've ever played Monopoly, you've already had a piece of Atlantic City in your hands. Every property on the board is named after the city streets. By the 1920s, Atlantic City had transformed into a dazzling tourist hotspot, earning the nickname the nation's playground. The streets bustled with small businesses, charming Americana-style buildings, and attractions that drew visitors from all over the country. It was the place to be. During Prohibition, Atlantic City gained an even wilder reputation. When much of the country was grappling with a ban on alcohol, Atlantic City's backrooms and nightclubs turned into hubs for illegal drinking. Even in the off-season, Atlantic City stayed alive, hosting major events like the Miss America pageant and conventions in the Grand Boardwalk Hall, built in 1929. At the time, Boardwalk Hall was one of the largest arenas in the country. If there's something we all know, it's that nothing good lasts forever. By the mid-20th century, America's travel habits were changing. Amusement parks like Disneyland and Six Flags stole the spotlight for family vacations, while the rise of cheap airfare allowed people to explore faraway destinations like Europe, California, and Florida. Atlantic City's once exclusive appeal as a beach resort began to fade, and the city struggled to keep up. The car culture of the 1950s and 60s also played a role. As automobiles became the primary mode of travel, rail lines fell out of favor, and Atlantic City made a critical error. It began demolishing its tight-knit blocks to make room for parking lots. What was once a walkable, lively town became dotted with empty lots, disrupting the community's charm. In trying to adapt, Atlantic City threw away the baby with the bathwater, and as a result, it lost its soul, and the character that had once made it special began to fade. By the 1950s and 60s, suburbanization dealt another blow to Atlantic City. Middle-class families left for larger homes in the suburbs, taking their wealth with them. Without a stable local economy to support it, the city began to decline. Then, in a last-ditch effort to regain its declining golden age, the city played its last card by turning it into a casino gambling hub in the late 1970s, hoping to reinvent itself as the Vegas of the East. As crazy as that sounds, it actually worked. As a matter of fact, the 1980s saw a resurgence as casinos brought in new life to the dying city. Tourists returned, money flowed, and for a while, it looked like Atlantic City might claw its way back to the top. But that never happened because that euphoria was short-lived. You see, by this time Las Vegas was growing exponentially and states across the country began legalizing gambling. Suddenly, Atlantic City wasn't special anymore, it was just another casino town. And not even a good one at that. Its outdated casinos couldn't compete with the glitz and glamour of modern gambling destinations. One by one, the casinos began to fail, leaving behind empty shells and a city that felt more abandoned than ever. And just like that, it went from being a seaside paradise to looking like a dystopian movie set. So, what went wrong? Atlantic City's failures boils down to one simple truth. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Instead of building on its strengths, the city tried to chase trends. It tore down its beautiful historic buildings to make way for modern, soulless structures. It abandoned the charm and character that had made it special, hoping that flashy casinos could carry the day. But as any old Hollywood star could tell you, beauty fades, and what's inside is what truly lasts. Atlantic City's inside, the culture, the history, the community, was gutted, leaving behind a hollow shell. The city's attempts to adapt didn't honor its past. Compare this to places like Venice or San Francisco, which have evolved over time while preserving their unique identities. Venice may no longer be a financial hub, but its historic canals still attract millions of tourists. San Francisco transitioned from shipping to technology, but it never lost its charm. Even Paris rebuilt itself after the Great Fire without losing its charm. These cities understood the value of their heritage, proving the adage, "You can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been." Hindsight is 20/20, but it's hard not to wonder what might have been if Atlantic City had chosen a different path. Imagine if the city had preserved its historic hotels, maintained its family-friendly atmosphere, and invested in public transportation like its original rail system, rather than trying to be Vegas's less attractive cousin. It could have remained a beach destination for Philadelphians and a nostalgic slice of Americana for tourists from across the country. Today, there's a growing appreciation for places that hold on to their history, and Atlantic City could have been a shining example. Take Santa Cruz, California as an example. Like Atlantic City, it's a beach town with an iconic boardwalk. But unlike Atlantic City, Santa Cruz has preserved much of its historical charm, blending old-world aesthetics with modern amenities. Visitors flock to its classically styled buildings and lively attractions, proving that demand for this kind of experience still exists. As they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unfortunately, Atlantic City fixed what wasn't broken and broke it in the process. Atlantic City's story may seem unique, but it's a cautionary tale for cities everywhere. As modernism and urban sprawl threaten to erase distinctive cultures and aesthetics, it is more important than ever for cities to remember their roots. For urban enthusiasts, the lesson is clear. Being distinctive is key. A city's character and identity are its greatest assets and are worth protecting, because once they're gone, all you're left with is a place that's trying to be something it's not, and that never works. So, here's hoping other cities take heed, because those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Make sure to check out other interesting videos on our channel. Like and share this video to spread awareness. If you haven't already, subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on our future content. Thank you for your support. This is World Tour. See you in our next video.